Caleb Wilson is the ultimate boom or bust prospect in the 2026 NBA draft. Let's lock in and find out why.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings. Thank you, as always, for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think. It's this week. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download download the app at FanDuel.com to get started today. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Albert Gim. He's Corey Tulaba. Thanks, as always, for joining us. And once again, for making us your first listen of the day. I'm really excited to record today, Corey, because we're talking about a guy that's super, super dynamic, really interesting prospect. But Corey, before we do, we always like to ask something weird or whatever. But Corey, wanted to know how you're doing, and more importantly, talk to us about that beautiful fall weather you guys are getting in New York right now.
Yeah, beautiful Friday here. You know, the weather is nice, and it's that sweet spot, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 65 in the morning, like a slight chill. You know, you could wear shorts, you could wear a hoodie. You know, it's depending on your mood. And then, you know, by the time it's the afternoon, you're like 75 to 80, somewhere in that range. So not too hot, not too humid. You want to go to the beach and, you know, get a margarita and a taco. Like, you could do that. So it's great times over here on the island. You know, just a beautiful time of the year.
You know, if you living on the island is just perfect. I mean, if matches your aesthetic, you get to do that beach life and take your wife and your son out there. It's fantastic. I'm really happy for you, Corey. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
But more importantly, I'm really excited for us because we're going to talk about a guy. Our cold open today was he might be the ultimate boom or bust prospect in this class. We're talking about Caleb Wilson. And so, Corey, if you can, let's get in the lab. Give us the essentials on Caleb Wilson.
Okay. Caleb Wilson attended Holy Innocents High School in Georgia. He is listed at 6'10", 215 on the North Carolina website. He will be playing for the University of North Carolina. Pretty famous alma mater there by the name of Michael Jordan. Maybe you've heard of him. Not a big football guy, but it didn't seem to go well for the football team recently, but that has nothing to do with Caleb Wilson. In 2023, with a Pro Insight measurement report, he had self-reported he was 6'9.5" with a 7-foot wingspan. More recently, the Daily Tar Heel reported that Caleb's wingspan was 7'4", but let's take that with a grain of salt. He does look very, very long on film, but I would probably lean more in the direction of the 7 foot, even if it is 7 foot. Plus, he was a McDonald's All-American. I think he was kind of in that Darren Peterson kind of situation where he didn't get invited to the Nike Hoop Summit because of lack of Team USA commitments and whatnot. But just the measurables, this is a guy who he played with the Boozer twins on the EYBL circuit. He's a winner. I think he brought the first state championship title to Holy Innocents. So, he's a winner with some really interesting tools and some pretty big question marks as well.
Yeah, I mean, Corey, the tools with him really enticing. When you turn on the film, they stay enticing, right?
Yeah.
He really plays with the tool set that he's been given. He played on a team, Holy Innocents. What an incredible name. I mean, what a great team name. Really interesting to see on the screen when you're watching this film. But man, Corey, for me, we're about to get into the nitty gritty with his offensive game. I think he's what I put in my notes, the first line I put, he might be like the most exciting UNC prospect in a long time. Like, I actually think like the true boom or bust potential with him on both ends of the floor is really, really tantalizing. And like what he might actually be able to do is incredible. But I'm going to give kind of like my spiel here on why I'm so excited about him. He feels very much like a modern NBA wing, like a guy who grew up watching Kevin Durant, grew up watching maybe even like younger guys, not like a Brandon Miller, a Paul George, like one of those kids, right? Who's like, he knew he was going to be gigantic, or I actually don't know his story. Maybe he had a growth spurt, whatever, but just he's gigantic, but also plays with so much skill. And also, more importantly, wants to play with so much skill. When you turn on the tape, Corey, you see that there are like, you see the gears turning in his head where he's like, I want to make magic happen with the ball in his hands. And it's not necessarily he wants to get up a million shots. There's a very interesting playmaking aspect to his game, Corey, that I could not ignore. And especially in transition, some of the passes he was getting off, I was like, are you trying to do like a Magic Johnson type of here with him? And so, Corey, if you can, take our listeners through where you're at with him on the offensive side of the ball, because it's very interesting.
Okay. So I will say I saw him at the McDonald's All-American game in person, and I was like kind of turned off. And this is where kind of like maybe the boomer bust thing happened, because he wasn't very, I think he was like 0 for 4. Like he just, and it's an all-star game. How much are you really going to take from this small data point? But I like to see guys in person and see what I can take from them. I wasn't impressed. And then when we did our Tunde scout, I watched his game there and I was like, okay, I think I'm wrong. And you remember, and for our listeners who have been rocking with us for a while, do you remember how excited we were preseason about Brandon Miller?
Yeah.
And we had Brandon in the top 5 heading into that cycle when that wasn't necessarily a popular opinion. It was quite controversial.
Right.
I think I'm that excited about him now. I'm like, all I want to do is watch more of his film, because every time you watch another game, there's another layer to peel back. I mean, I started out writing notes about his passing where I was like, he's like a cool connective passer, and then all of a sudden he's doing this stuff in transition. Dude, he's threading a needle on a rope with force and zip right to, and then his hit aheads. I think he's going to throw the ball out of bounds every time. And he's just hitting the outlet man, like throwing the ball to the spot, meeting him at the spot, like a quarterback leading a receiver. And then in the half court, I was like, all right, well, it's the open floor, it's high school, whatever. Like, what's he going to do in the half court? And he's not like necessarily running, like spamming ball screens and stuff. Like that's not how he's used a lot, but like, dude, he dribbles like a small guard. Like he's got that like leg, that cartoon character kind of leg kick to kind of mess with the cadence. And he's got these heavies. He's got hezzies. He's got this real wiggle, like left to right. He's got a cross that Iverson cross, except he's 6'10", and then when he makes plays like live dribble, one hand, skips to the corner, to the wing. He's hitting dudes like that are cutting, after he gets the ball in the short roll. His passing is sick. And I was not expecting that. But the more you watch, the more you see. Like, I think his outlet passing is literally my favorite micro skill of any prospect that we've covered so far. And then offensively, man, like he's really versatile. Like he's got moves around the block that are like, it looks like he grew up watching Shaq, where he's kind of the footwork and then the power with the 2-hand dunks. And then, but he's also got like wiggle to create, like you said, like a Brandon Miller or a Paul George. He hits some really tough mid-range shots. Like he's another guy, like we covered Koa Pete, another guy who really likes the mid-range. And, I think for him, the big thing is like, is that 3-point shot going to come around? Is it going to come around? Because sometimes I see him shoot and I'm like, dude, that was smooth. Like, hell yeah. And then there are other times where I see him shoot and it's like hitchy at the top and it's a little like awkward looking. And I think he shoots a palmy ball, which makes it a little inconsistent. As far as his shooting, like it was like not a good great percentage. I think it was like 29% in the EYBL. His high school tape I mostly watched on YouTube because there aren't a lot of games on Synergy. So if you want to watch his high school film, just like search Holy Innocents full game, and like you can go find his film and watch. And like then you watch the EYBL where he's in more of a complimentary role. And like he's finding ways to not be the main guy, but like he's still playing with force, and you feel him. Like he's just doing things. He's hitting the offensive boards and cleaning the glass. Dude, I am stoked on this kid. Like I am super stoked on this kid. If he shoots 35%, he is going to crash the party and be a guy that it's like, hey, should he be in the top 3? Like if he's 38%, they're going to be scary conversations because this kid has some tools, man.
Okay, so if you've listened to Corey and I for a while now, you'll know that one of the big criticisms of us as a pairing is that we agree too much. I do not care because Corey, you and I, before we started recording today, we were like, hey, we won't say anything about Caleb Wilson till we start recording. And it's hilarious to me right now. Like I couldn't contain myself while you're talking because I feel exactly the same. Like I don't care if people hate it. Like this is exactly how I feel. Caleb Wilson is so exciting. I just, when I watched this tape, I was like, he is such a unique player. But like once again, like you can see the influences and how like his basketball journey was impacted by guys like a Kevin Durant and a Paul George and whoever, because he is such a toolsy player for a guy his size. And Corey, the passing stuff, the way that I put it in my notes is like, if you get into like college football or like NBA, NFL draft stuff, when they talk about quarterbacks, and you mentioned quarterbacks before, they talk about like layering the ball, how like quarterbacks have the ability to hit the different levels, but do it in a way that's like really effective, right? Whether you're hitting your running back in the flat or you're tight end in the flat, and then you hit guys over the middle, and then being able to throw the deep ball, whatever. The crazy thing with Caleb Wilson is that he's a 6'10" wing, but he's able to make every pass in the book. And it's crazy. Like there was, for our listeners out there, go search the Georgia State Championship game for Holy Innocents and watch some of the insane things he's doing with the ball in his hands and the passes he was making both in transition and in the half court. There was one where they were like running in transition, and like the defensive, like the guy in the middle steps up to him and he weaves this like perfect through pass / pocket pass to the guy going to the rim. And it's just unbelievable. And you're like, this is a 6'10" jumbo wing doing this type of stuff. Corey, to your point, his hit aheads in transition, I mean, the touch, the anticipation, the vision it takes to
the processing.
Oh my goodness.
Because it comes off the rim and it's already out of his hands and all the way to the opposite side of the court. And he can't spam that at the next level. Obviously, it's going to be different. But just to like process, to see it and get the ball up the floor that quickly, special stuff.
And then and then Corey, some of the stuff that he's doing, like manipulating stuff with the ball in his hands, and then like seeing everything on the second side, and just being able to whip either like a 2-hand jump pass, just like on a dime, or to your point, like some of the live dribble stuff he was doing where he's just like eyes up, right? Dribbling, like making moves and then just whipping an absolute rocket to the other side. I don't know, Corey. Like, I think the biggest takeaway for me on the offensive side of the ball, obviously we can't do this forever. The dynamism, is that a word?
Yeah.
The versatility, the excitement that he can produce on the offense side of the ball is really, really special. And the craziest thing about it, Corey, and once again, we have not talked about this yet, there's a lot of that on his in his defensive tape as well. And so I cannot wait to get into the defensive side of the ball with him as well. But before we do, got another word from FanDuel. Okay, so the NFL season is here. It's not even almost here. It is here. And FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And guys, with the NFL season being here, we've got Cowboys and Eagles on Thursday. We got Chargers and Chiefs on Friday. And then we got a full slate on Sunday. There's a lot to be excited for. And just for our listeners, I know you're going to not really, maybe you won't super value my take on any of this, but for NFL bets, I've got some exciting ones. Okay. So the first one for me, obviously we're on Friday. This is after the fact. After, we've seen some games here. I've got two for you guys that I think are interesting. Number one, Matthew Golden of the Packers, over 3.5 receptions. I think that's interesting, right? He's going to be the number one receiver for the Packers. I know he's a rookie, but take a bet there. Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars. They brought in Liam Cohen. They're going to be doing more passing stuff there, over 5.5 receptions. So, guys, those are my two takes for NFL bets this week. But I think you should be excited. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. I don't know what happened to my camera. Hold on, let me adjust this.
You're crazy quick. Zoomed in.
I know.
That's what the people came to see. They came to see in your face intensity, just like you're gonna get from Caleb Wilson, man.
Oh man, I have no idea what my camera just did, but yes, absolutely, Corey. That's the type of defender that Caleb Wilson is going to be. He's not going to sit back. He's you know what I wrote in my notes here, Corey, for Caleb Wilson on defense? I wrote game breaker energy on defense. Okay, let me start, and I'm going to send it to you, but I just kind of want to throw my takes in here right now. He's got some insane range as a defender. And obviously, like, part of that is because he's super long, but also he moves really well. Corey, you mentioned on the offensive side of the ball how he's got some slipperiness to him.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of that on defense. The way that he can kind of get through screens sometimes, but also more importantly, on some of those, because he's 6'10", he's guarding some bigs. On some of those entry passes, the way that he would slip behind his man to poke the ball away and to get the ball going the other way in transition, I thought was really interesting with him. The way that he can move his feet, I thought was really interesting for a guy his size. And more importantly, and I forgot to say this when we talked about Koa Pete, I thought some of Koa Pete's blocks were actually goaltends, which is in my notes. But with Caleb Wilson, man, some of them, he's like, I felt like his hand was at like the top of the backboard on some of the blocks, like some really unbelievable blocks. So let me pause there, Corey, and let you get off some takes. But talk to us a little bit about Caleb Wilson, the defender.
Okay, so in the 8 EYBL games that he had for 24-25, he averaged 4.4 stocks, and I think that undersells him because this dude is disruptive. He's got active hands. If you leave the ball out in front, he is poking it away. He had a possession where he was playing as the big in the drop, and he was at the free throw line, and the guard came off near the 3-point line, and he poked it away. Now, high school 3-point line different than college 3-point line, different than the NBA 3-point line. But like just to show how active he is and how long he is and how he uses that length. Like he uses his physical tools. He really does. He's just an insane help defender. His instincts are crazy. Like he hunts it down, like a hawk. Just he's waiting for the dude to attack the rim so he can come over from the weak side and just send it into the front row. But as like a 6'10" big, like he has the versatility to kind of guard like bigs, but then he'll go out on the perimeter and he will straight up sit in his stance. He is low, he is long, and like you cannot get around it. And he's smart. He's got good feel. Like if he knows that a dude struggles going right, he's going to send you that way. He'll weak guys to whatever direction that makes them uncomfortable. And this was our big criticism of Koa Pete earlier this week, is that he doesn't make guys uncomfortable. Caleb Wilson makes guys uncomfortable, right? And, obviously, look, he's not perfect as a defender. Sometimes his feet are like a little fidgety. I think, now granted, a lot of the criticisms, his team was up by like 30. So maybe he was just like, I don't need to be on full go. My team's up 30, but like, he would kind of like try to cheat and do the like poke away from behind and kind of let the guy go by him. And it like led to some layups. Maybe in a more intense moment, I don't think he would guard like that. But like, dude, the way that they switched up coverages, like he would like at the end of one of the possession, at end of the quarters in one of the games, after not doing it like the whole game, they used him to send a blitz and a hard hedge, however you want to refer to it. And it was just like the dude threw the ball handler threw the ball away. Cause it's just like, he's just coming at you, and again, not perfect. As a help side defender, sometimes he can lose his man in the weak side because he's kind of watching the ball and not playing flat to the basket as the low man. So he can't keep that head on a swivel, but his recovery tools are silly. So like he can afford to kind of gamble like that, specifically at the high school level. We'll, at the college level, it's going to be harder. And I do think that it's weird. You mentioned UNC is not a powerhouse for high level recruits. And I haven't felt confident about a recruit from North Carolina in a really long time. I don't even know when the last time I felt really confident about a UNC prospect was. But man, like, dude, Drake Powell went 20 in the like early 20. Was it? Did he go exactly at 20?
Yeah,
was it 21?
Like that.
Like that dude had major flaws, like major flaws.
Yeah.
And Caleb Wilson's bigger, and he's more aggressive. Like I as a defender, his defense might be a thing that makes him a can't miss guy because he has so many different offensive tools that the shot is like not the swing skill for him to be an NBA player. It's a swing skill for him to be a superstar because he could be a two-way superstar, in my opinion.
Okay. Corey, before we wrap on the defense, there are 2 points that I want to make that I just have to get off. Number one, it's terrifying to think about how good he's going to be when he gets stronger.
Yeah.
When he gets his grown man strength, this guy is going to be an absolute nightmare for people. And on top of that, Corey, you talked about his pick and roll coverage. When we talk about like modern NBA pick and roll coverage, like you want wings that can go out there, that can show, you mentioned, right? Whether it's blitzing, hard hedge, meeting at the level, whatever you want to call it, right? But if you have a guy like Caleb Wilson, who's going to be stronger later on, meeting at the level with him in a stance, with his footwork and length and aggression, he is an absolute nightmare. And then if it is a thing where you kind of play him in a drop and he's playing the cat and mouse and then he's getting back to his big, like the type of stuff that he can offer to you with his intellect, length, aggression, and versatility in that specific, when we're talking about pick and roll coverage, he is terrifying. Like, I think he might end up in his prime being the best pick and roll defender in the NBA. Like, this is a real possibility for him. A real, like, just remember, Corey, the stuff that we were excited about with like Chet Holmgren, right? With his versatility as a defender. I look at Caleb Wilson, I'm like, he might be right there, dude, with the type of stuff that he might be able to, like the type of defender that he might become. And so, Corey, I'm right there with you. I am so excited about Caleb Wilson and the type of defensive player that he might be. And I think when we look at the excitement with him both on offense and defense, I think there are some guys in the NBA that we're going to think of and that we're going to get excited about. And so we're about to get in the comms. But before we do, we've got an ad for you. Man, Corey, it wouldn't be an understatement to say that we're pumped about Caleb Wilson. Yeah, we are absolutely through the roof pumped about his game, the type of player that he might be. When it came to his comps, Corey, I had some trouble because I found myself in a dangerous place once again, where watching the film, I couldn't help but think about some really, really good NBA players. So before I go, Corey, I want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners some of the guys that you thought of and why he's got you so excited.
Well, like nobody likes comps more than me. And I feel like I'm pretty good at them usually. I also struggled for him because I think he's really unique. But here are some names that I thought of. And I have a couple of old school ones.
Okay.
First name I thought of, just Clifford Robinson.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Second
Love
old
that.
school name I thought of. What if he's like what people thought Jonathan Bender was going to be?
Wow.
Who was like, prep to pro,
Yeah.
crazy measurables, like wing, but was like big sized, like special guy who dealt with a lot of injuries. Now, more modern guys, okay? Tari Eason,
Okay.
Jonathan Isaac.
Mm.
And neither one of those guys are known as shooters, right? And Jonathan Isaac, drafted super high off his tools. He is such a dominant defender. He's just somebody he can't string together healthy seasons. He just can't play games. His the most successful season he had was injury riddled, and he
Right.
didn't play like even a half a season, right?
Right.
So, but I think that he has more offensive game because I think his passing is a lot more dynamic.
Yeah.
But like I think he could be that level of impact player, and hopefully health persists. And if and I kind of wanted to curb myself there because these are really impactful guys, but it also seems like they're guys that are so good and impactful defensively, and they play with such force that like they're going to be on the floor for 20 minutes a game, even if their offense doesn't take that leap. And like that's a strong floor in the modern NBA. But if his shot comes around, you're getting into territory that I didn't even want to, write in my notes because, you're talking about a special prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the special stuff, obviously, then you start getting into the conversation of, Hall of Famer type of guys. Corey, I love the Clifford Robinson call, obviously, for if you guys know me, there are a lot of reasons why I love that one. But like, I also feel like there's an energy there that you're kind of referring to that's important because like I feel like in the 90s, 2000s, right, you got these fours that were trying to be more skilled. Like another example would even be a guy like Danny Manning, right? Like he was a guy that came in, was a four, but like could shoot the ball, whatever. So whether it's him, Cliff Robinson, Jonathan Bender's such an interesting one because if he didn't have the knee injuries, he could have been terrifying. Like Jonathan Bender could have been so good. A guy that I thought of, Corey, what if he's like, and it's not a perfect comp, guys. What if he's like a right-handed Lamar Odom type of guy?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
where did we land with Caleb? Like he's so interesting and creative with the passing. And obviously, like Lamar Odom had that. He was so dynamic as a ball handler, so flashy with the passes, such a terror in transition because he could literally carry the ball up himself and create for others and be creative in that way. Caleb Wilson's got a little of that to himself, but it's like, what if he's right-handed Lamar with Jonathan Isaac's defense and you just start to dream, right? What type of player are we talking about? Like if he's got Lamar Odom type of skills on offense, but then is going to be Jonathan Isaac on defense, that is terrifying, right? And a guy, we'll just say it now, Corey, I think you and I are both in the same boat. If that's going to be his comp and his outlook, he's got to be top 5. Like he just has to be, right? And obviously we're going to have to see it at UNC, and that UNC roster is very different now. Like last year, they just didn't have anyone taller than 6'10" or like one guy over the 6'10". Now they've got a million guys that are bigger and taller, and that their roster is going to look very different. But if Caleb Wilson can come in and show, right, the stuff that he already has locked down on defense, right, but then that dynamism on offense and that the interesting creative stuff that he can do, Corey, he might end up being like an absolute lock. And to your point earlier, maybe he pushes himself into that top 3 conversation and goes, guys, why not me? So
he's a wild card. He's a wild card, man. He's a wild card. I love the Lamar Odom call out. That's a great one. You said right hand Lamar Odom, because I will say Caleb Wilson is very right hand dominant at the moment. But yeah, that's really intriguing one. And Lamar was a big part of the Lakers, second run there with Kobe. Really big part of it. So, a lot of these toolsy guys can hypnotize you with their tools.
Yeah.
But he plays with such force on the court that it's just like guys who play that hard, like they're going to be impactful.
Yeah.
You know, so like whether he's Lamar Odom with Jonathan Isaac's defense or he's Tari Eason, like that's a good NBA player. That's a top 10 worthy pick. So he is at the moment, to me, like my favorite prospect. And I've gotten in trouble with this before. You know, I love Jarris Walker so much. I still do. I feel like he should be a second draft guy somewhere. And he's just in a situation where it's, you know, with their depth in the front court for a finals team, it's hard to get those reps. But dude, sick.
Yeah. No, Corey, I love it. I'm so glad we didn't talk about him before recording, just because I didn't know how you were gonna feel about him. I'm glad you know how I feel about him. I think both of us, when we submit big board soon, I think he's gonna be top 5 for both of us, maybe even higher. Who knows? But Corey, ultimately, when it comes to a guy like Caleb Wilson, super dynamic on offense, super dynamic on defense. I don't know what the term, the jargon, the draft Twitter jargon is, event creation, but he does a lot of that on both ends. He's an event creator, right? He's an event coordinator is what we'll call him. Okay. On offense and defense. But ultimately, Caleb Wilson is a guy that we believe that you guys need to be paying attention to, that you have to be watching. Get caught up with him before the season starts so you can tell all your friends, you know, you're at a barbecue in the next couple of weeks and you're like, hey, I got a guy you got to pay attention. Caleb Wilson. All your friends would be like, who the hell is that? You'd be like, he's going to UNC. He's going to be incredible. Check him out. So guys, once again, as always, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We've got more exciting stuff for us to get into next week. As always, I'm Albert. He's Corey. Talk to you guys soon.